Broncos country, what's going on, people? How you guys doing today, man? It's your boy Mark here with Marky Sports. Hope you guys all having a wonderful day. Should the Broncos make an epic kind of breaking news type of move, or would it actually be something that hurts the team and doesn't actually make sense for where we are? We will break that down, guys. If it's your first time today tuning in, my name is Mark. I'm a Denver native, born and raised, huge Bronco fan. So if you love Broncos news, if you love Avs news, if you love um, Denver Nuggets news, and you love fantasy football, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. It'll really help me out, guys. I'm on a mission to get to 500 subscribers and hoping to do so before September. So it'll help me out a lot. I appreciate you guys tuning in. So let's break this down. Brandon Ayuk with the San Francisco 49ers has officially requested a trade. Now, a lot of the times when it gets to this level, right, it goes one of two ways. Either the player and the team come to a really quick agreement, which I ultimately do think is going to happen, or the team is shopping and seeking trades. They're looking at different opportunities. They've come out and they've denied that they're going to listen to any of these, but we all know that's not the case. Any good GM, any good front office, like the San Francisco 49ers have, would obviously listen. Now, let's take a hypothetical situation with the Broncos, right? Let's say the Broncos were to make a move. What would that look like? And then ultimately, is this something that makes sense and would actually be a good thing for the Broncos? Because on the surface, you can always be like, yeah, of course it would be. But we'll break that down, see what you guys think. So in order to obtain somebody like Brandon Ayuk, and there's a lot of people I feel like that actually sleep on Brandon Ayuk. Guys, Brandon Ayuk is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He is absolutely ridiculously talented. All he does is make plays. His route running is impeccable. He catches everything. He's the best receiver that they have on that team. But on the flip side, I can also understand why San Francisco might not want to pay him that premium because they've got big-time contracts coming up. They just paid Debo. They've got Brock Purdy they're eventually going to have to pay. They got a lot of guys on defense where they're allocating a lot of money. So it might be difficult. They kind of manipulated the cap incorrectly, if you ask me, my personal opinion. But anyways, that's besides the point. So when you look at this to say, let's say he becomes available, I think it's going to absolutely – a first-round pick is the starting at price when it comes to that. Now, the first-round pick for the Broncos, we could have an advantage over other teams offering a first-round pick because they could think that our first-round pick is going to be higher than maybe some other teams that are looking to trade them. So we have an advantage if we were to want to make that move. Would that be a smart move? Well, tune in, and I'll break down it to let you guys know. But it's going to be about a first-round pick starting. It's probably going to end up being something along the lines of like, a first, and then in return, maybe we get like a fourth or a fifth or something like that. But a first-round pick, in my opinion, is I think what the price is ultimately going to be. On top of that, you're going to have to pay him minimum $34 to $35 million average per year. A.J. Brown signed a $32 million contract. Average annual revenue. Justin Jefferson is the most recent. He signed at $35 million. Is he going to be Justin Jefferson money? He's got the argument because he is the next guy that's due, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown had recently signed for about 30. So I would expect for it to be around $30 to $32 million average per year and probably close to $100 million in guaranteed. So it's going to be a huge contract to be able to keep him. So you're giving a first-round pick and that in addition, which is obviously pretty damn crazy. Now, what does Brandon Ayuk bring to the Broncos? Well, he brings an absolute playmaking ability to a team that could use that. Now, we've talked about this. I have a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of young guys that I really like that I'm excited to watch develop. But we don't have anybody that's a bona fide stud like Brandon Ayuk could be. So he'd be instant juice for an offense that could use instant juice. There's no doubt about it. Now, would it be the right move for the organization? Absolutely not. It'd be exciting, and I'd be all for it. I'd find a way to be excited about it, but it absolutely does not make sense because where we are as an organization right now is we are in a full-blown rebuild, which is what makes this all actually really fun. I'm happy. I've talked to you guys about this a million times. I'm so thrilled that we're actually embracing this rebuild, but it doesn't make sense because just like I was an advocate of trading away Courtland Sutton, bringing in somebody like him just potentially dampers the development of other guys that you want to be able to see. Because think about it this way, okay? There is no receiver that we have on this team that's anywhere in the same level right now as Brandon Ayuk is, right? People love Courtland Sutton, people don't. Cortland Sutton could be a really good bargaining chip in this because San Francisco might actually be interested in somebody like a Cortland Sutton plus a pick because he's a vet. He's under contract for the next 2 seasons at a really affordable rate. So it actually might make sense for him. But, he's going to be able to. So anyways, let's get back to Brandon Ayuk. So Brandon Ayuk brings us this insane ability to be able to make plays for this team. But what if somebody like Troy Franklin or somebody like Marvin Mims or Brandon Johnson or any of these young guys end up turning out to be really, really, really good players? Maybe somebody close to the level of talent and production like Brandon Ayuk. Then now you've got somebody that's going to be young, that's going to be cheap, and that you can continue to develop as a part of this core team to be able to move into the future with, right? Now, the Broncos, after the season, they are in a good position to be able to pay a lot of money for these big-time players, right? But there's too much risk and not enough reward, in my opinion, because let's say Bo Nix doesn't pan out, then you're hampering the production that Brandon Ayuk's going to have. If he does pan out, then great. But you don't know that. We don't have enough evidence to be able to suggest it and to be able to support it. It would definitely be fun, and it would make it really intriguing, especially for this season, because you'd have somebody that can be a great playmaker. The Broncos also have a lot of young core pieces that they need to pay. We talked about this in a previous video with Patrick Surtain. Obviously, they have Quinn Miners as well, and I think it's so important to pay these guys not just because they're a core of your team, but to be able to really build that culture and build that foundation of we will draft you, we will develop you, and we will ultimately pay you. That is such an important way to be able to build it out. I think if we were a year into the Bo Nix experience, let's say Bo Nix was a rookie last year, he showed a lot of flashes, he played really well. You can see that upside, then this would be a move that makes total sense. But because there's so much unknown variables, you've got to stick with your team. You've got to be able to go at the season with what it is that you have. You're not really in a position to be able to make these bold moves, right? Also, what we've seen and what the receiver position is kind of starting to show is that paying high dollars for a wide receiver is not always the smartest way to build a team. I mean, look at all the guys. Look at the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, right? The San Francisco 49ers and the Chiefs. These guys did not allocate a lot of money to their receivers. The Chiefs got rid of Tyreek Hill for a lot of great compensation draft picks. They've turned those draft picks into really, really great players, and they've just built. They've found their franchise quarterback that they've given whatever the hell the market asks for, and he's made it work. They played good defense. They run the ball when they need to, and that's ultimately, I think, how you're gonna you're really going to build a team, right? And allocating a lot of money to a wide receiver position doesn't always make sense, or at least one single wide receiver. Now, if we were to pay him that $30 million and we were to get rid of Cortland Sutton, you can make an argument that as a room, that's still an affordable room, right? You've got 3-4 guys making $35 to $40 million a year. That's not too bad when you look at it from the room standpoint, but how does it hamper the rest of the growth, right? So I don't think it's a smart move, but I would absolutely be an advocate of the move if it was something that happened. But it doesn't make sense right now, given where the Broncos are, given the state that we're in. I think you embrace this youth movement. You embrace these guys on the team. You get some hungry dudes that are just going to come in and compete their ass off every single day, and then you reevaluate. If at the end of training camp, right, you start to see a lot of spurts, you start to feel a little bit better about your team, how the makeup is, then you can entertain this if it's something that ultimately ends up going. But if you ask me, I think that Brandon Ayuk is going to ultimately end up getting the money that he's seeking, and I think it's going to happen at the expense of Deebo Samuel, potentially, who's also somebody that I think if they do pay Brandon Ayuk, then they might want to offset Deebo Samuels because he is counting a lot of money towards the books this year. He signed an agreement, a 3-year deal, I think last year. Was it last year or was it this year? I think it was last year it kicked in. But his cap hit last year was only $8.5 million. It's bumped up to $28 million this year. So he's got a big hit against the cap, which is, as we know, always the most important number to look at. So in order to be able to do that, they're going to have to look at potentially moving on from Deebo Samuel. Even though they could get out of that contract, they might need to, be able to. That's going to be an easier contract to be able to trade to a team that likes him. And I would actually be a lot more intrigued by trading for Deebo Samuel rather than Brandon Ayuk, because Deebo Samuel brings an element to this offense that I think Sean Payton would love because of his ability to, you know, basically play running back, be a slot guy, to be able to get the ball in his hands quickly and move. So that's a move that actually would make sense. And he has a contract that's a lot more palatable for a team like us. Yes, he's getting 28.6 million this year. You could always, rework that or extend it or whatever. But you have an out after this year. You can add years to the back end of it, lower the cap hit. There's a lot of maneuverability there rather than giving up a big asset and then also needing to negotiate a contract like you would with Brandon Ayuk. So now that I kind of talk about this and work through it, I think that if the Broncos are looking at making a trade and adding to the room, somebody like Deebo Samuel would actually make a lot more sense. And the fact that we have Cortland Sutton, who is also a little bit disgruntled, he actually makes a lot of sense for a team like San Francisco. I think that they could really maximize him. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the Broncos should make a move? Do you think it should be for Deebo? Do you think it should be for Brandon Ayuk? Do you think we should stand put? Or maybe there's somebody else that you guys think of. But anyways, let me know in the comments. Till then, guys, mile high salute to all of you guys. Spend time with those people that you love the most. And as always, peace out.